The friendship ribbon had faded from blue to gray over 40 years, but Priya Nair still kept it wrapped around her wrist. She sat alone near the window of Station Meridian, watching cargo ships drift past like slow fish in a dark ocean. At 73 years old, she had seen enough of space to find it boring. But she still came here every evening because the silence helped her forget. The young Velthari found her there. His name was Sol Len, and his 4 eyes blinked nervously as he approached. His species had skin like wet stone and moved with careful grace. Priya had read his petition 3 times already. She knew why he was here. Ambassador Nair, he said, his translator turning his clicks in his soft words. Thank you for meeting me. I did not agree to meet you, Priya said. You simply found me. Sol Len sat down across from her. His 4 hands pressed together in what she recognized as a gesture of desperation. My people are dying. The Hollow Raiders attack our colonies every cycle. We have no soldiers. We have no weapons. We need help. The Galactic Council has peacekeeping forces. The peacekeeping forces watch us die and write reports about it. Sol Len leaned forward. We need human soldiers. We need to lift the ban. Priya looked at the ribbon on her wrist. 40 years. It felt like yesterday. It felt like 1,000 years ago. You know I cannot support that petition, she said. You were there. Solin's voice dropped low. At Karsis Prime. You saw what happened. You know what humans can do. Yes. Priya turned to face him fully. That is exactly why I cannot support it. The young diplomat made a sound of frustration. I have read every report. I have studied every document. 3 platoons of human soldiers saved 12,000 Kashari from genocide. They fought against impossible odds and won. Why is that something to be ashamed of? Priya was quiet for a long moment. Outside the window, a passenger liner glided past, its lights twinkling like a small galaxy. Do you know what the Kashari were like? She asked. Sol Len shook his head. Small creatures. 6 limbs. Skin that glowed with soft colors when they felt emotions. They had no word for violence in their language. When the Dreketh Imperium invaded their mining colony, the Kashari did not understand what was happening. They thought it was a misunderstanding. They kept trying to offer the Dreketh gifts, and the humans saved them. The humans were hired to keep peace, Priya said. 3 platoons, 180 soldiers. I was a combat medic attached to Captain Ravi Singh's unit. He was a quiet man. He read poetry and played chess. He never raised his voice. She touched the ribbon again. The council told us to observe and report. The Dreketh had agreed to negotiation. Everything was supposed to be resolved through diplomacy. We were ordered to stand down and wait for the politicians to do their work. But the Dreketh did not negotiate in good faith, Sol Len said. No, they did not. Priya's voice became flat. They waited until our guard was down. They waited until our soldiers had become friends with the Kashari children. They waited until little ones were braiding ribbons for the humans who taught them games. She held up her wrist. A girl named Tilla made this for me. She was 9 years old. Her skin glowed pink when she laughed. She asked me if humans dreamed when we slept, and I told her yes. She asked me what I dreamed about, and I said I dreamed about going home. She said she would dream about me going home too, so my dream would be stronger. Zone waited. He could see the old woman's eyes growing wet. The massacre started at 3 in the morning, Priya continued. The Dreketh had decided that killing all the Kashari would be easier than negotiating. They expected us to follow our orders. They expected us to watch and write reports. But you did not. Captain Singh gathered us together. He told us that if we acted, we would lose everything. Our careers, our pensions, our futures. The council would call us criminals. He asked us one question. Priya smiled, but it was a sad smile. He asked us what we were. What did he mean? He meant that being human is not about following orders. It is not about politics or diplomacy or career advancement. It is about what you do when children are screaming and no one else will help them. Sol Len leaned forward. What happened next? Priya stood up slowly, her old bones protesting. She looked down at the young diplomat with eyes that had seen too much. The problem with human soldiers was never that we were too violent, she said. The council could have handled violent. Violent is simple. Violent follows patterns. Violent can be controlled. She turned to walk away. Then what was the problem? Solen called after her. Priya stopped. She did not turn around. The problem was that we cared too much. And when humans care about something small and helpless and afraid, there is nothing in this galaxy that can stop us from protecting it. Nothing. She walked into the shadows of the corridor. "Come find me tomorrow," she said over her shoulder. "I will tell you what we did, and then you will understand why they had to ban us." Solen sat alone in the observation deck, watching the stars, wondering what could possibly be terrible enough to outlaw an entire species from war. Karsis Prime looked like someone had cracked open the planet and filled it with diamonds. The crystal caves stretched for thousands of kilometers beneath the surface, glittering with minerals that powered half the ships in the galaxy. But it was not the crystals that made Private Danny Okonkwo stop and stare when he stepped off the transport. It was the children. They came running across the landing field, their 6 little legs carrying them faster than seemed possible. Their skin glowed soft green with curiosity, and their large black eyes reflected the humans like dark mirrors. They had never seen creatures with only 4 limbs before. "They look like they are made of stars," Danny whispered. Sergeant Omar Hassan grunted beside him. "They look like targets. Keep your weapon ready." But there was no danger here. Not yet. The Kashari settlement was a peaceful place built into the mouth of a great crystal cave. Their homes were carved from stone and decorated with glowing moss that made everything look like an underwater dream. The Kashari themselves moved through their village with gentle grace, their bioluminescent skin pulsing with soft colors as they whispered to each other. Captain Ravi Singh met with the village elders in a chamber that sparkled with 1,000 reflected lights. The elders were old Kashari whose skin had faded to pale silver, but their eyes were still bright. "We do not understand why the Dreketh want to hurt us," the eldest one said through a translator. "We have offered them food. We have offered them crystals. We have offered them friendship. They take everything and demand more." Singh nodded slowly. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and calm eyes that seemed to absorb everything without judgment. "Where are the Dreketh now?" he asked. "They control the deep mines. They say they will leave when they have taken what they need. But they have been saying this for 6 months, and they keep taking more." Singh had seen this pattern before. The Dreketh Imperium did not negotiate. They consumed. They would strip Karsis Prime until nothing remained, and then they would move on to the next world. "I will speak with their commander," Singh said. "We will find a solution." The meeting with Overlord Thresh happened the next day in a neutral chamber between the Kashari village and the Dreketh camp. Thresh was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with armored skin the color of dried blood. His eyes were small and cruel, set deep in a face that looked like it had been carved from stone by an angry sculptor. "Humans," Thresh said, and the words sounded like a curse. "The Council sends their pets to watch us." Singh did not react to the insult. "The Council wants a peaceful resolution. The Kashari have rights under galactic law. The Kashari have nothing." Thresh leaned forward, his breath hot and foul. "They are weak. They do not deserve what they have. The strong take from the weak. This is the natural order. The natural order on my world includes creatures that eat their own children," Singh replied calmly. "We do not consider it something to admire." Thresh laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "You humans are soft. Your empathy makes you weak. You will watch and write your reports, and when we are finished here, you will go home and feel sad about it. That is all you will do." Singh said nothing, but something changed in his eyes for just a moment. Something cold moved behind the calm. Back at the Kashari village, the human soldiers were becoming part of the community. Danny had found a cloth and bundled it into a ball, and now a dozen Kashari children chased it across the crystal fields, their skin flashing with joy. Corporal Mei Lin sat with a group of elders, learning the songs they sang to calm their young ones during storms. Omar had begun mapping the tunnel systems, officially for tactical purposes, but really because an old Kashari had shown him paintings on the cave walls that were older than human civilization. "We should not get attached," Omar said that night around the fire. "This is a job. These are not our people." Danny watched a small Kashari girl braid a ribbon from cave moss. Her name was Tilla, and she had adopted him completely. She followed him everywhere, asking questions about Earth. Did humans have 6 legs when they were young and then lose 2? Did human children glow? Did humans dream? Too late, Danny said quietly. Way too late. May returned from the tunnels with a pale face. She found Singh standing alone at the edge of the village, watching the stars. Omar found something in the deep mines, she said. Bodies. Kashari elders. The Dreketh have been executing anyone who resists. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. Singh closed his eyes. Did you report it to the council? Yes. They said to be patient. Reinforcements will arrive in 72 hours. We are ordered to observe and document. Nothing more. Singh was silent for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. 72 hours. That night, the Kashari children presented the human soldiers with friendship ribbons. They had spent all day making them, weaving cave moss into colorful bands that glowed softly in the darkness. Tilla gave hers to Danny with skin flushed pink with happiness. So you remember us, she said. Even when you go home. Danny tied it around his wrist. I will never forget you, he promised. At T3 in the morning, the screaming started. Fire painted the crystal caves orange and red, turning beauty into horror. The Dreketh soldiers moved through the Kashari village like a dark tide, dragging families from their homes, separating children from parents, herding them toward the deep mines where the execution trenches waited. Priya Nair pressed herself against a stone wall. Her medical kit clutched her chest. Through a crack in the rock, she watched a Kashari mother try to shield her children with her own body. The Dreketh soldier did not even slow down. He simply walked through them. The sound the mother made was not a scream. It was something worse. A high, keening wail that carried across the entire settlement, joined by hundreds of other voices until the night itself seemed to be crying. Captain Singh's voice crackled through her communicator. All units, report to the command post. Now, the humans gathered in a small cave at the edge of the village. 173 soldiers, because 7 were already out on patrol and could not be reached. Their faces were pale in the emergency lighting. Some were crying. Some were shaking with rage. Most were simply waiting, looking at their captain for answers. Singh stood before them with a communication pad in his hand. His face was carved from stone. I have received orders from the Galactic Council, he said. We are to stand down. We are not to engage the Dreketh forces. Reinforcements will arrive in 72 hours. Until then, we are to observe, document, and protect ourselves only if directly attacked. No one spoke. Outside, the screaming continued. The council believes that intervention will escalate the situation, Singh continued. They believe that the Dreketh will eventually stop. They believe that saving a few lives now is not worth risking the diplomatic progress that has been made over the past 6 months. Danny Okonkwo stepped forward. His hands were balled into fists at his sides. Sir, the children. They are killing the children. I know. Tilla is out there. The little girl who made me the ribbon. She's out there right now. I know. Maylin's voice was barely controlled. I can hear them singing, Captain. The Kashari sing when they are afraid. They're singing the songs I taught them. They think we will save them. Singh set down the communication pad. He looked at each of his soldiers in turn, meeting their eyes one by one. When he spoke again, his voice was different, quieter, more human. If we act tonight, we'll be court-martialed. Every single one of us. We will lose our ranks, our pensions, our careers. The council will call us war criminals. Our names will be blacklisted across every human colony. Our families will be ashamed of us. He paused. If we do nothing tonight, we will follow our orders. We will be commended for our restraint. We will receive bonuses for maintaining diplomatic relations. We will go home as heroes who did exactly what they were told. Outside, a child screamed. Then silence. I'm going to ask you a question, Singh said. And I want you to think very carefully before you answer. Not as soldiers. Not as employees of the Galactic Council. I want you to answer as human beings. He looked at them with eyes that held something Priya had never seen before. Something old and fierce and terribly, terribly sad. What are we? The silence stretched. Then Omar Hassan stepped forward. He unclipped his helmet and let it fall to the ground. We are the ones who do not look away, he said. Danny stepped forward. We are the ones who stand between the darkness and the small. May stepped forward. We are the ones who remember every face we failed to save. One by one, every soldier in that cave stepped forward. Some were weeping. Some were grim. All of them knew what they were choosing. All of them chose it anyway. Singh nodded slowly. He picked up his rifle. The Dreketh commander believes that humans are soft, he said. He believes that our empathy makes us weak. He believes that we will watch and write reports and feel sad. He chambered around. The sound was very loud in the quiet cave. He is about to learn that human empathy is not weakness. It is a warning. Because when humans care about something, truly care about it, we do not write reports. We do not feel sad. We do not negotiate or compromise or accept diplomatic solutions. Singh walked to the cave entrance. The orange light of burning homes painted his face. When humans care about something, we become the thing that monsters have nightmares about. He activated his communicator on an open channel. Every Dreketh soldier on Karsis Prime heard what he said next. Overlord Thresh. This is Captain Ravi Singh of the Human Peacekeeping Force. I am informing you that we are no longer observing. We are no longer documenting. We are no longer following orders. He stepped out into the burning night. We are coming for you, and we are bringing everything that makes us human. Behind him, 173 soldiers followed their captain into hell. In the council chambers far away, a diplomat stared at his communication screen in disbelief. They cannot do this, he whispered. They are outnumbered 20-1. They will be slaughtered. An older diplomat, a woman who had met humans before, shook her head slowly. No, she said. The Dreketh will be slaughtered. And when it is over, we will have to decide what to do with soldiers who saved 12,000 lives by becoming monsters. The night of Karsis Prime had begun. Later, military historians would call it the most efficient combat action in recorded galactic history. They would study the tactics, the movements, the impossible mathematics of 173 soldiers defeating an army of over 2,000. They would write papers and give lectures and debate the strategies. They would miss the point entirely. The first Dreketh patrol died without knowing they were under attack. Omar and his squad moved through the crystal tunnels like shadows, using the maps they had made during peaceful walks with old Kashari guides. The Dreketh never expected humans to know the tunnels better than they did. They never expected humans to fight in silence, saving ammunition, killing with knives and hands, and terrible efficiency. Danny led a team through the burning village, not to attack, but to rescue. He carried 3 Kashari children on his back, their small arms wrapped around his neck, their skin flickering with terror. He fired his weapon with one hand while running, his aim somehow perfect despite the chaos. When a Dreketh soldier blocked his path, Danny did not slow down. He did not go around. He went through, navigated by sound. The Kashari sang when they were afraid, and she had learned their songs. She followed the music through smoke and fire, finding groups of survivors huddled in collapsed buildings. She led them to safety through tunnels that the Dreketh had not found, because the Dreketh had never bothered to learn anything about the people they were killing. Priya set up a medical station in a deep cave, working by the light of glowing moss. The wounded came in waves, human and Kashari alike. She stitched flesh and stopped bleeding and held the hands of those who were dying. A Kashari elder looked at her with fading eyes. Why? He whispered. Why do you help us? Priya did not have time to answer. She was already moving to the next patient. Captain Singh went straight for the center. The Dreketh command post was a fortress of metal and stone, guarded by Thresh's personal soldiers, the best warriors the Imperium had. Singh brought only 12 humans with him. The Dreketh laughed when they saw the small force approaching. They stopped laughing very quickly. Human soldiers fought like nothing the Dreketh had ever seen. They did not follow the rules of warfare. They did not maintain formations. They did not retreat when wounded. They moved as one organism, covering each other, supporting each other, dying for each other without hesitation. When one human fell, 2 more seemed to appear in their place, fighting harder, angrier, more desperate, and they were fast. So impossibly fast. The Dreketh were larger and stronger, But humans had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They had reflexes built by millions of years of running from predators and hunting prey. They could change direction in an instant, dodge attacks that should have been impossible to see, strike at weak points with surgical precision. The battle for the command post lasted less than an hour. When it was over, Singh stood in the central chamber, surrounded by the bodies of Thresh guards. His uniform was soaked with blood, most of it not his own. His rifle had run out of ammunition long ago. His knife was slick and red. Overlord Thresh stood at the back of the chamber, holding a Kashari infant in one massive hand. The baby's skin flickered with terror, cycling through colors that had no names. "Stay back," Thresh commanded. "One more step, and I crush it." Singh stopped. He looked at Thresh with eyes that held nothing human anymore. Something had gone out of them during the fighting. Something had been replaced by something else. "Do you know what humans do to protect children?" Singh asked quietly. "You are one soldier. I am overlord of the Dreketh Imperium. You cannot threaten me. I'm not threatening you." Singh took a step forward. "I'm telling you what is about to happen." What happened next was not recorded. The official reports state only that Overlord Thresh survived the encounter. They state that he surrendered unconditionally 30 seconds after Captain Singh reached him. They state that the Dreketh Imperium withdrew from Karsis Prime within the hour. They do not state what Singh did during those 30 seconds. They do not state that Thresh never spoke again after that night. They do not state that the most feared warlord in the galaxy spent the rest of his life in a medical facility, screaming whenever he saw a human face. They do not state that Singh walked out of that chamber carrying the Kashari infant gently against his chest, his hands steady, his face completely calm. The Battle of Karsis Prime lasted 11 hours. When it ended, 23 human soldiers were dead. 67 were wounded. Every single one of them had fought until they physically could not continue. The Dreketh lost 2,400 soldiers. 300 surrendered. None escaped. 12,000 Kashari survived. When the reinforcements finally arrived, they found human soldiers standing guard over sleeping children. They found medics working without rest. They found Danny Okonkwo sitting in the ruins of the village, a small Kashari girl asleep in his lap, his hand gently stroking her head. The friendship ribbon was still on his wrist. "Is it over?" Tilla asked without opening her eyes. "Yes," Danny said. "It is over. You are safe now. Will you stay?" Danny looked at the sky, where council ships were descending. He knew what was coming. He knew what the humans had done could not be forgiven. "I will stay as long as they let me." He said it would not be long. Solen found Priya in the same observation deck the next day. She was holding a cup of tea that had gone cold hours ago, staring at nothing. "You promised to tell me what happened," he said softly. "I did." Priya set down the cup. The council held the tribunal 3 weeks after Karsis Prime. Every major species sent representatives. The Dreketh Imperium demanded that all surviving human soldiers be executed for war crimes. Vaklimis, they saved 12,000 lives. They disobeyed direct orders. They killed over 2,000 enemy combatants. And they did something to Overlord Thresh that the council considered beyond acceptable limits of warfare. Priya's voice was flat. The Dreketh brought medical records, brain scans, psychological evaluations. Whatever Singh did to Thresh, it broke something inside him permanently. Solen leaned forward. "What did Singh do?" Priya was quiet for a long moment. "Do you know what makes humans different from most species in the galaxy? It is not our strength or our speed or our intelligence. Many species have those things. What makes us different is our capacity for empathy. We feel what others feel. When we see someone suffering, we suffer too. That sounds like a weakness. That is what Thresh believed." Priya smiled, but there was no warmth in it. But empathy is not just about sharing pain. It is about understanding. When a human truly understands another being, we understand everything about them. We understand what they fear. We understand what would hurt them most. We understand exactly how to break them. She turned to face Solen directly. Singh did not torture Thresh. There were no marks on his body, no physical injuries. What Singh did was worse. He made Thresh understand. He made that monster feel what the Kashari children felt in their last moments. He made Thresh experience helplessness, terror, and despair. He made him feel what it was like to be small and weak and know that no one was coming to save you. Salen's 4 eyes went wide. Humans can do that. We evolved doing that. Every human parent knows how to comfort a frightened child because they can feel the child's fear. Every human doctor knows where it hurts because they sense the patient's pain. It works the other way, too. We know how to cause fear because we understand it. We know how to cause pain because we have felt it. Priya stood and walked to the window. Singh showed Thresh exactly 30 seconds of what the Kashari experienced. Just 30 seconds. And it destroyed him. The most feared warlord in the galaxy, reduced to a screaming wreck by half a minute of human empathy, turned inside out. The tribunal had lasted for weeks. The human soldiers sat in a special section, still wearing their torn uniforms, still bearing their wounds. The galaxy watched as lawyers argued about proportional response and rules of engagement and the limits of acceptable warfare. Then Captain Singh asked to speak that he stood before the council, a small human figure surrounded by representatives of 100 species. He did not defend his actions. He did not explain his tactics. He did not argue about rules or orders or diplomatic protocols. Instead, he recited names. Tilla, age 9. Breen, age 4. Molly's, age 12. Savin, age 7. The council grew quiet. Cora, age 2. Helen, age 11. Dassie, age 6. Nori, age 3. He continued for 4 hours. 12,000 names. Every single Kashari who had survived because his soldiers chose to disobey orders. By the end, even the Dreketh representatives could not meet his eyes. These are the war criminals, Singh said when he finished. Children who wanted to live. Families who wanted to stay together. Elders who wanted to die peacefully instead of in execution trenches. If saving them makes me a monster, then I accept that judgment. But I will not apologize for what we did. And I will not pretend that following orders would have been the right choice. The council faced an impossible decision. They could not execute heroes, but they could not allow what happened at Karsis Prime to happen again. The precedent was too dangerous. If human soldiers could simply ignore orders whenever they disagreed, the entire structure of galactic peacekeeping would collapse. That they compromised. The human soldiers were not executed. They were not even imprisoned. But from that day forward, human troops were banned from serving in any galactic military force. No human could be hired as a soldier, a mercenary, or a combat contractor. The species that had proven itself the most effective warriors in known space were forbidden from fighting. The Kashari petitioned for a full pardon, Priya said. They gathered millions of signatures from species across the galaxy. The petition was denied. Too dangerous, the council said. Too unpredictable. Too human. Solen processed this in silence. Then he asked the question that had been burning in him since he first read about Karsis Prime. Do you regret it? Priya looked at the ribbon on her wrist. Faded gray, falling apart after 40 years, but still there. Tilla grew up to become a teacher, she said. She teaches Kashari children about the humans who saved them. She tells them that there are beings in the galaxy who will fight for you even when it costs them everything. She tells them to be brave because bravery is contagious. She turned to face Solen. No, I do not regret it. None of us do. Zone stood slowly. His people were dying. His species faced extinction. The council would not help. Is there truly no way, he asked, no way for humans to fight again? Priya smiled. For the first time, there was warmth in it. The ban says humans cannot serve as soldiers, she said. It says nothing about serving as teachers. Come back tomorrow. I will tell you about the Nair Doctrine. 3 months later, Solen stood on his homeworld and watched his people train. They were not soldiers. The Velthari had never been warriors. But the old human woman who walked among them, correcting their stances and adjusting their grips, was teaching them something more important than combat. She was teaching them to fight for each other. The Nair Doctrine Priya had explained on that third day in the observation deck began as a simple idea. If humans cannot serve as soldiers, we will serve as something else. advisors, trainers, volunteers who happen to be present when trouble starts. The loophole had existed for 40 years. Human veterans traveled to threatened worlds not as mercenaries, but as consultants. They taught farming communities how to defend their homes. They trained peaceful species in the tactics they had learned through centuries of human warfare. They shared the most dangerous knowledge in the galaxy: how to become the thing that makes monsters afraid. Captain Singh, now 94 years old and walking with a metal frame, had personally visited over 300 worlds. He never carried a weapon. He never fired a shot. But the species he trained had won battles that should have been impossible, using strategies that no alien military had ever conceived, because humans did not just teach fighting. They taught caring. Your enemy expects you to protect yourself, Singh would tell his students. That is predictable. That can be planned against. But when you fight for someone else, when you put your body between danger and a stranger, you become unpredictable. You become terrifying, because the enemy knows that you will not stop. You will not retreat. You will not negotiate. You will keep coming until the threat is gone or you are dead. The Hollow Raiders had terrorized the outer systems for decades. They attacked colonies, stole resources, and killed anyone who resisted. The Galactic Council had sent peacekeeping forces. The peacekeeping forces had observed and documented and written reports. Then the Hollow attacked a colony that had been trained by humans. The colony should have fallen in hours. Instead, the farmers and shopkeepers and teachers fought for 3 days. They used tactics that made no military sense, sacrificing themselves to protect neighbors, holding positions that should have been abandoned, treating every single life as worth dying for. The Hollow retreated. They had never retreated before. The humans are teaching them to be like humans, a Hollow commander reported in captured communications. We cannot fight this. We cannot predict this. Every time we think we understand what they will do, they do something insane instead. Solen watched his own people learning those same lessons. A young Velthari named Pel struggled with a defensive stance, his forearms getting tangled. Priya patiently adjusted his position, explaining why each movement mattered. "You are not protecting yourself," she said. "You are protecting the person behind you. Your body is a wall between danger and everyone you love. When you think of it that way, the movements become natural." Pel tried again. This time, his stance was perfect. Back on Station Meridian, the council held its annual review of the human true ban. As always, there was a petition to lift it. As always, the petition was denied. But this year, something new was added, a resolution honoring human contributions to galactic peace. The resolution passed unanimously. It was a small thing, a symbolic gesture. But Priya, watching the vote on a screen in Solen's village, smiled. The galaxy was finally beginning to understand. On Earth, Danny Okonkwo sat in his garden, watching his grandchildren play. He was 71 years old now, his hair white, his body slow. But when a ship landed at the edge of his property, he stood up with the same energy he had shown 40 years ago. The passengers who emerged were Kashari. Their skin glowed soft blue with emotion, and their large eyes were filled with tears. "Danny," the oldest one said, "do you remember me?" He looked at her for a long moment. Then he saw the friendship ribbon around her wrist, faded gray, but still there. "Tilla," he whispered. She ran to him, and he caught her the same way he had caught her as a child, 40 years ago, when the world was burning and he had promised to keep her safe. "I told my students about you," she said into his shoulder. "I told them about the humans who came from the stars to protect children they had never met. I told them that there is good in the universe, even when everything seems dark." Danny held her and cried for the first time in decades. Far away, on a world Priya had never visited, a human veteran named Sarah boarded a transport. She was 60 years old, retired from a career she could not legally discuss, heading toward a planet where a small species was being threatened by a larger one. She carried no weapons. She had no official status. She was just a tourist who happened to know how to train farmers to become warriors. The ban remained in place. It had never mattered. In the final session of her lectures to the Velthari, Priya stood before a crowd of 4,000. They had come from every corner of the planet to hear her speak. She looked out at their faces, four-eyed and stone-skinned and utterly alien, and she saw something familiar. Hope. Humans fight because we cannot look away, she said. When we see something small and helpless and afraid, something inside us refuses to accept it. We do not know why. We do not understand the evolutionary purpose. We only know that we would rather die than stand by while innocents suffer. She touched the ribbon on her wrist. The council banned human troops because they feared what we could do. But they missed the truth. The thing that makes humans dangerous is not our weapons or our tactics or our willingness to break rules. The thing that makes us dangerous is that we will teach anyone who asks to be exactly like us. She smiled at the crowd. And now you are ready. The Hollow will come for your people. And when they do, they will find something they did not expect. They will find 4,000 Velthari who have learned the most human lesson of all. Solon stood at the front of the crowd, his hands clasped together. What lesson is that? He asked. Priya looked at him with eyes that had seen too much death and too much hope and everything in between. That love is not weakness. That caring for others is not soft. That the beings who will fight hardest, sacrifice most, and never ever give up are the ones who have something worth protecting. She turned and began walking toward her transport. Become that, she said over her shoulder, and you will never need human soldiers again, because you will have become us. The transport rose into the sky, carrying an old woman toward her next destination. Another world, another species, another group of gentle beings who needed to learn how to bare their teeth. The ban on human troops remained in place. Tea never mattered, tea never would.